From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Wednesday, September the 22nd, 2021. Funding for Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system was removed yesterday from a U.S. government spending bill after pressure from several progressives in the Democratic Party. The budget needs to be passed by the end of the month to keep the government funded, and progressives threatened to vote against it if the $1 billion allocation for Israel's missile defense system was included. The Times of Israel cited a member of Congress saying that Congresswomen Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Betty McCollum pushed to have the funding removed, and cited a congressional aide who said that Congresswomen Rashida Tlaib, Ilan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, and Pramila Jayapal also said they would vote against the bill if the funding for Israel was included. U.S. House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer said later that the funding would be brought for a separate vote this week. Hoyer said, "It is my intention to bring to this floor a suspension bill before the end of this week that will fund fully Iron Dome," adding that he spoke with Israeli Foreign Minister Yair Lapid and assured him that the bill was going to pass this House. Lapid tweeted of the funding omission. The conversation with Hoyer revealed that this was a technical postponement resulting from the debate in Congress over the ceiling of the U.S. budget deficit. Hoyer's statements follow backlash from a number of Democrats like Ted Deutsch, Kathy Manning, Josh Gottheimer, Brad Schneider, and Richie Torres, who were outraged at the removal of the funding in the bill. Torres tweeted, "A missile defense system, i.e. Iron Dome, defends civilians from missiles, hence the name. Only in a morally inverted universe would this be considered a controversy." Jewish organizations were outraged as well. The American Jewish Committee wrote, "It is both unconscionable and telling that a small group of lawmakers has held up funding for the Iron Dome system, which exists solely to save Israeli and Palestinian lives. Whatever the vehicle, Congress must act swiftly and in a bipartisan manner to replenish this key system." B'nai B'rith International said House members who have failed America's closest ally in the region are displaying shameful bias against the world's only Jewish state and are leaving the Middle East more vulnerable to Hamas and other terrorists, calling it unfathomable that the House voted to remove funding for Iron Dome, a missile defense system that has saved countless lives in Israel from Hamas's rocket attacks. And pro-Israel lobby AIPAC wrote, "Extremists in Congress are playing politics with Israeli and Palestinian lives. Calling to remove funding for a life-saving defensive system is an affront to our values, risks further conflict, and is counter to the commitment made by Biden and supported by congressional leadership." The Jewish Democratic Council of America also tweeted of the funding, "It will get done. Democrats will ensure Israel gets this aid." With CEO Haley Seufer tweeting as well, "Democrats will ensure Iron Dome is fully funded this week." And today, President Joe Biden's nominee for the U.S. ambassador to Israel, Tom Nides, testified at his confirmation hearing before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee and was asked whether he supports Iron Dome replenishment, to which Nides answered, "Yes, sir." Nides also said of Israel, "Israel is one of our closest security partners in countering the broad spectrum of threats. Chief among them is the critical threat that Iran poses." Nides said, "Upholding Israel's security serves America's national security interest and ensures that we will always have a strong, reliable, and secure partner." Turning now to the United Nations, where the General Assembly held its commemorative event today for the 20th anniversary of the Durban Conference, the 2001 UN Conference Against Racism, which took place in Durban, South Africa, that ended up targeting Israel and the Jewish people. According to Israel's foreign ministry, 34 countries withdrew from the commemorative event this year because of its history, resulting in a very low turnout. The foreign ministry thanked the dozens of countries for taking this firm stand. Well, thousands of worshipers gathered at the Kotel, the Western Wall, today for Birkat HaKohanim, the traditional priestly blessing in the Old City of Jerusalem. The blessing takes place during the intermediate days of Passover and of the current Jewish festival of Sukkot. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Wednesday, September the 22nd, we have more for you on our special programming responding to the Durban Conference anniversary at the UN today with Durban Revisited. Beginning at 7 o'clock, New York Times columnist Bret Stephens talks about Israel, Zionism, and antisemitism with B'nai B'rith International CEO Dan Mariaschin. Then at 7:30, Dan speaks with Canadian human rights champion and former member of the Canadian Parliament, Irwin Cotler, who was at the 2001 Durban Conference on his experience. Then at 8 o'clock tonight, Richard and Phyllis Heideman, who led the Jewish delegation to Durban in 2001, join me to discuss the infamous conference's significance 20 years later. At 9, Mark Golub speaks with Stephen Schwartz on L'chaim. At 10, a celebration of the life and music of Irving Berlin. Then at 10:30, it's Musica with Sagiv Cohen. And coming up next, it's Thinking Out Loud. And that's the JBS News Update for Wednesday, September the 22nd, 2021. I'm Teisha Bader. Stay healthy, stay well.